It's been a while, but the body is back on the frame now. So I'm going to go ahead and put the condenser onto the radiator, get that installed, hook up my hoses, my electrical wires, try and get everything under the hood finished. Dryer will bolt right there with these clamps, just like that. And it does have a flow direction, so you need to pay attention, make sure you get that in the right direction. Just a couple screws right here that hold it in place. Now I've got this little line that will attach the dryer to the condenser right here. If the little rubber plug doesn't come out the cap, be sure to remove that. We'll drop a mineral oil on them. One more thing I need to do to this condenser assembly before I mount it on the radiator support is put either a binary or a trinary switch in the system, and it's going to go right here at the top of this dryer. It comes with the kit comes with a binary switch, got 2 prongs on it, but I bought the optional trinary switch. That's this one here. It comes with the switch and the instructions, and it's got 4 wires coming out of it. And if you have electric fans, which I do, the trinary switch is what you want to have. The binary switch protects against an overpressure or a low pressure situation. It'll cut the compressor off. The trinary switch, 2 of the wires perform the same function as the binary switch, but then the other 2 wires will automatically kick the fans on anytime the air conditioner compressor comes on, because you don't want to run the air conditioner compressor without air flowing through the condenser. It's got a little O-ring, so we'll put a little oil on that. I'll snug that down, and then that's installed. The condenser will just mount right on the front side of the radiator support, front of the radiator. This radiator I'm using got dual electric fans on it. It's a DeWitt's brand radiator, really nice, high quality radiator, all aluminum. And before I set the condenser on there, I'm going to point out a couple of extra things I did. You see these little angle brackets here running the full length on both sides are just made out of aluminum. I've got notches in them for the fittings coming off the condenser. On the condenser, I've got these sheet metal extensions, top and bottom. It just lays right in there. A couple of nuts go on here, and I won't put bolts through here yet. There's 2 bolts that'll go here and here, but once it's in the car, I've got some little support pieces that go from here up to the fiberglass body in the headlight area. And the reason I put these pieces along the bottom here and these angles on the side is just to keep air from sucking in around the sides of the condenser. Now all the air that gets pulled through the radiator also gets pulled through the condenser. Got this all bolted down now. So now I can run my electrical wires off this Trinary switch. But before I do that, I think I'm going to go ahead and make my hose connections, get the hoses routed, and then I can run the wiring. It'll be easier to run the wiring, route it around the hoses rather than vice versa. I've got a couple of hard lines that go in there. This is another number 8 line with a fitting on it. And basically the instructions are pretty self-explanatory as to how the lines are routed. I've got my hard lines attached, and I had to kind of bend them around just a little bit to get them to fit, but it's aluminum tubing, so it bends real easy. And I've got my hoses cut to the proper length. I've still got to crimp these fittings here. There's another one right around the corner here. Now I'm going to take this wire off of the compressor, and I spliced in an extra long lead right there because I'm going to tie that into this harness, which is running along here, carrying the wires to my electric fan. So I'm going to feed this into this harness, and then it's going to come down and around, and then it's going to come out right here. And this green wire coming from my compressor is going to attach to one of these black with a green stripe wires off the Trinary switch. The other black wire with a green stripe is going to attach to this blue wire, which comes from the AC relay, which mounts inside the car. And then the 2 blue wires that are coming off of the Trinary switch, one of them goes straight to ground, and the other one is going to splice in with this gray wire here that is coming from my fan relay, and it's going to feed through here, and I'm going to attach both of them right here to this little temperature sending switch that's mounted in the radiator. And basically I'm just following instructions on the Vintage Air Trinary switch schematic. And they also have a real good video on their YouTube channel, so you can go and check that out. They give you the location, the link right there for it. That was helpful. I'm getting ready to crimp all these fittings. This one here I'm going to do first because I can take it out of the car. And what I did is put some tape around the hose and then made a mark on there, so when I get it out I'll be able to get it aligned properly. Here it is all set up and ready to go. This is just a little beadlock crimping tool that I bought. Comes with all these different size dies for the different size hoses. And in the past I would just take these hoses to a shop and let them crimp them for me, but I don't want to pull those hoses out that are already attached to the evaporator over there. So I bought this tool off of Amazon. It was 115 bucks. So I'm going to just try and do it myself. I'm making sure my marks are lined up, and I put the tape right at the edge of the fittings because if it gets pulled back I'll be able to recognize it easily. So it's right there. So I'm going to go ahead and start crimping this down. Basically what it turns out is you can compress this until these jaws are all touching each other, and then that puts you right where you need to be. So there's one done. Looks pretty good. That's what came from Vintage Air. Theirs might be a little cleaner than mine, but they probably have a lot more expensive tool than this one. All right, I just did this big number 10 hose. And what I'm finding is that you need to, at least on this tool I got, crimp it from 2 directions, 0 and 90 degrees. If you just do one direction, some of the crimps don't look like they're completely put in there. And so if you rotate it 90 and then crimp it again, it gets to be a lot more uniform all the way around. So that's that one. And now I've just got this little number 6 hose to do. Okay, I've got my number 6 dies in here. Got my marks made right there where it needs to be oriented. Make sure the hose is pushed all the way in. start cranking. And I believe that concludes everything that needs to be done under the hood. I don't have the dash back in yet, but that will allow me to go ahead and easily hook up my wires. This harness here comes from the firewall, and on the other side I've got that circuit breaker and the positive battery hookup, and then also negative battery hookup, and then the other wires that run out to the compressor and the binary switch, what have you. So I've got a couple connections to make in here. They give you a lot of extra wire, but basically, you know, there's only one way it's going to go. You've got matching connectors that'll go together here. Got this connector goes into this one. This connector will go right in here. And then I've got this separate harness, which is for your switches that are going to go over here. It'll plug right in here. And then this relay, I just got it's got a hole for a screw. I'm going to tie it up here somewhere. I'm going to see how best to route these wires and get them tied up. This purple wire, the tan wire, is for backlights, you know, dash lights, if you want some kind of light behind your switches or something. But I think I've already got that. And then this purple wire will provide power to the relay. So anytime the ignition switch is on, then this wire needs to have power to it. Had a little change of plans on this routing of the wire. Coming up from the bottom here, it was just getting too messy. So I rerouted them up behind all the hoses, came out up through here, made all my connections, and then looped the excess wire together and cable tied it in a few places, cable tied it down here too, and then it can just rest right there. And then when the dash is in and the glove box goes in, the glove box goes right up against here. So they're out of the way, they're not going anywhere. Just need to be careful not to get anything in the way of your windshield wiper arm here. My relay drops right down there. And I just drilled a hole, put a screw in it, hold it in place there. Here's what the switches look like. And they've got a little tang on them right there. And you've got to cut a little slot. They're showing you right here in your dash for that tang. I've already done that on mine. Two of them will go in the dash right here, and the other one will mount in that little cover that goes on the side right here. And then the knobs need a little modification. I got new knobs here. These are the ones with the threaded hole in them for the defroster pull cable. And you've got these little D-shaped clips that get pushed into there once those holes are drilled out to 17/64. And then that'll allow them to mate with the switches. Got my switches in, my knobs in place. With the excess wire going to those switches, I just looped it up here. The one switch connector that doesn't get used, I just cable tied it back on the harness there. And I've got one more switch that plugs into this connector that will mount right about here, like I say, in that side cover. Most of the wiring is in and tied down. So now I'm going to get in under here and hook up all my ducting to these ports here. What you get in the kit is some of this stuff, which is a little bit larger diameter, and it will go for the defroster. And then this other piece here gets cut into 4 different lengths. and gets hooked up just like it shows here. The 3-inch goes up here to the defroster duct. This side goes to the driver's side, passenger side, and then these two here will go to on either side of the console. So I'm just going to follow the instructions, make those connections. This is the defroster louver that they give you, and it actually is going to attach right to the back side of the speaker cover, like right in here. And then of course the speaker goes in here, so all three of these items are going to have to kind of get assembled at the same time. I ran into one little problem over there. I was trying to put the speaker grill in place, and these studs that go closest to the windshield, they don't stick quite far enough through the defroster duct in order to get the nut started. This is the type of nut that was on there. It was just kind of a self-threading castle nut, or whatever you call this. But you can see you got to get to the full depth of that thickness of the nut before you start engaging any thread, and I just didn't have enough studs sticking through to do that. So what I did is I took a die and chased some number 1024 threads on here, and I can just use a regular nut, and hopefully that'll get started and I can tighten it down. It'll work just fine. Here's what it looks like installed. I've got two ducts coming out right there. One's going to feed the outlet here on this little side panel, and the other one is going to feed this piece that mounts right up under here like that. And to mount it, I've got to drill a couple of holes right up in here and in here. That'll hold that in place with a couple of screws. And this one over here, you see it's got this bracket on it. It will go in right under the steering column and bolt to that U-bolt that goes around the steering column right there. I got this vent attached over here. Now I believe I'm ready for the glove box. And they supply a new glove box, which is not quite as deep as the original. It's got these little clips around the perimeter, so it'll attach to the frame just like the original one does. Okay, I'm going to end this video here. All that's left is when I get my carpets in, my console in, and put these little side covers on, I got to hook these ducts on here, one on each side. And then once I finish with the car and get it going, why I've got to, of course, add Freon to the system. And as you can see, it was a lot of work, not easy. I'd say just give yourself plenty of time and you can get it done. And next summer when it's 100 degrees outside and you're nice and cool in your Corvette, why it will have been well worth it.